Welcome to Cincinnati Soccer Talk, the podcast covering all things soccer in the Queen City. So get in touch, soccer fans. Email us at feedback@cincinnati-soccertalk.com. Now, here's your host, Nick Suberly.
Hey, what's happening, CSTers? Welcome to another Monday edition of Cincinnati Soccer Talk. It's a free-for-all. That's right. We're going to open up the Kings Hammer Hotline. You will have your chance to have your say about the orange and blue. So get in touch with us. 513-399-KICK. 513-399-KICK is that number. Rob Pierce standing by, ready to take your calls here on the Kings Hammer Hotline. Of course, you can get in touch with us via email feedback@cincinnati-soccertalk.com. We'll also be monitoring the chats on Facebook and YouTube and Twitter. And you can always get in touch with us on Twitter at Cincy Soccer Talk. No episode captain this week. But, of course, if you want to help support the show, you can by heading over to CincinnatiSoccerTalk.com/support. Got some big news this afternoon regarding FC Cincinnati and one of their mainstays the last 3 years. We'll touch on the injury blow to Jimmy McLaughlin here in a little bit. And, of course, since we last spoke, FC Cincinnati now has a new midfielder. But before we can dive into all of that, let's welcome in my cast of characters this week. Don't adjust your dials, folks, because, yes, it's a Boston and Bill show back-to-back weeks. We welcome them both back. Boston, how are you, buddy?
Doing well. Yeah, you know what it is? So many of you emailed us the CST feedback and asked for Bill and I to return, so we did, and we appreciate it. We know you don't want to. We know you don't want to see the Weigel, so we're just glad you wrote it down and proved it to Subes for us.
Yes. Of course, we love the Weigels. We really do. But no, I'm glad to have you back, Boston. Always love getting your take as well. Bill, welcome back to the show, the Wolf Man. How are you, Bill?
Hey, all right. I had to wait to the end of the show last time.
That's right.
I'm doing great. Like Boston said, the dynamic duo was here last week. We knocked it out of the park. It was a phenomenal show, the best ever for CST. So we just had to repeat that.
Ratings through the roof. Thousands upon thousands of people attended.
Yeah. Millions. I mean, it was.
We've been offered a national deal.
Fake news.
Oh, wow. The only thing different about this week's show is we don't have Luke Sassano on the Kings Hammer Hotline. But again, the Kings Hammer Hotline is open and ready for you. So get in touch with us again. That number.
He had nothing to do with the ratings. I just want to be sure that's clear. He had nothing to do with the ratings.
That is true. Well, let's talk a little bit about the news that came out today, gentlemen. Jimmy McLaughlin turns out injuring his knee during off-season preparation in a workout in Pennsylvania back on January 9th. Sounds like he's going to be missing some significant time for the orange and blue this year. Not something you want to be hearing 24 hours before preseason training camp kicks off. Bill, I'll start with you. When you found out that news today, what went through your mind?
Yeah, I mean, Jimmy's been he's been an icon for the club. He certainly has been a great guest on this show and a friend of CST for a long time. Devastating to hear about this to him personally. And, I feel really bad for the guy. This is the second preseason that he's come into with an injury. This one sounds worse is the sad thing about it all. I mean, he was wearing a boot for, I think it was 2 weeks last time. You might remember, guys. But regardless, there was sort of a known amount of time that he needed to take it easy. This sounds a little more open-ended, which is a bit frightening. So all the best to him. He's obviously not a quitter. And you can tell that from his Twitter post today that he is planning on coming back. But it is a little concerning that they sent him back to Pennsylvania for rehab. So,
yeah, we don't know what exactly the injury is. We know it's a knee, and they said it was going to be significant time missed. So we got a lot of feedback on Twitter when we retweeted the club's tweet today about what this means and how people were pretty upset. But Boston, there were some folks who thought, well, look, Jimmy wasn't exactly somebody we were really counting on providing a lot of minutes for the orange and blue this year. But in the end, this is still somebody's career, getting his chance back in Major League Soccer. I mean, what went through your mind?
I mean, I think that's the real bummer for him is that, yeah, he was an outside chance of, starting in the 11 on an MLS roster. But this is a guy who was on an MLS roster at one point, fell out of Major League Soccer, and had to build his career back in the USL. And he did it. He became a fan favorite, and he made it on the team. And he just wanted that chance again. And that's where I see the tragedy. And then, but yeah, for some FC Cincinnati fans, it's well, he's probably number 30. So, if you lose number 30 on your roster, that's still pretty far away from 18. I don't know if any of that's true or not, but you got to feel for the guy in the shot he had at least.
Yeah, I'm devastated personally for Jimmy. As Bill mentioned, he's been a big help to Cincinnati Soccer Talk. He's always been very gracious with his time with us, coming on the show multiple occasions. Obviously, we've had a chance to meet Jimmy's family at pre-match events there downtown there in Nippert. So from that standpoint, very, very disappointed because, again, this is his chance to get back to Major League Soccer. He's probably something he's been working for 3 years. When he came here, there was the hope that Major League Soccer could be here in Cincinnati. Now it's here, and to have this setback again is just really disappointing, especially, as you mentioned, Bill, for the second preseason in a row. You and I were down in Florida last year when he was just starting to get back into the swing of things, and we were at that second preseason friendly, and we thought there's no way he's going to play. Of course, we were led to believe that, and then sure enough, Jimmy shows up on the field and got some game time there at the end. But yeah, two preseasons in a row. How unlucky is that?
Not very lucky, but people counted him out last year too. So
yeah, they did. But Jimmy, if you're watching, which we know you are, I'm kidding. We wish you nothing but the best. We hope that your recovery is quick and smooth, and we see you there on the pitch at Nippert Stadium very, very soon. The phone lines are open, though, 513-399-KICK. Get in touch with us on the Kings Hammer Hotline. Again, our own Rob here standing by ready to take your call. Preseason training camp kicking off tomorrow for FC Cincinnati. All the players reported today and had their medicals, and so tomorrow it all kicks off. This is where all the fun begins. Before we preview training camp a little bit, there has been some news surrounding the team since we last spoke. It's official. We have a new midfielder. I think one of 12 midfielders. Yes, Alan Cruz finally signing with FC Cincinnati. It has been made official. He joins the club from I'm going to butcher the name, Herediano. I believe that's how you say it. He spent parts of the last 2 seasons there, making 76 appearances in all, scoring 10 goals. Recently called up for the Costa Rican national team, where he's made 6 caps for the Ticos. So, it's finally official, gentlemen. He's on the roster. And Boston, I mean, he's not a 10, which is what everybody's clamoring for. But, again, they're going to be pretty deep in midfield.
If you looked at this roster and you said, hey, who do we really need? I think a reasonable person would have said, another 6 or 8. And of course, Alan was there to get us all that player. No, but I kind of see where Alan's going with this roster. It's built to be flexible, and I think that's why we just see such an emphasis on the back and the midfield, and hopefully, we get some pending news here about the attack, because I think so far it's been pretty much all bad news. Players falling through, injuries. Need a spark.
Yeah, Rob Pierce letting me know that I wasn't too far off. It's actually 11 midfielders on the roster now, Bill. So that was a pretty lucky guess.
Yeah, it's there's a lot of them, but like Boston said, flexibility is kind of the game. I think Luke mentioned that last week, and a lot of these guys are, some of them are for sure more 6s, but we have a lot of 8s, and 8s. You think of them as box to box, but at one point we were calling Bone an 8, and he started off the season definitely in the 10 spot. So there's some flexibility there. I've heard some rumors that Cruz plays a 10 for the Ticos. I don't know how true that is, but obviously there is flexibility on a central midfielder that they can potentially play a little farther forward or a little further backwards. There's probably a more of attacking versus defending tendencies in players. But eights kind of can swing both ways, so to speak.
Let's talk a little bit about the breakdown that occurred last week, Boston. We thought FC Cincinnati had another midfielder in the fold. We thought we were going to have that number 10 that as I said, the fans have just been begging for, and it just didn't work out. Fill us in.
Yeah, it's man, I mean, I tell you what, when we were talking to Luke last week and after we got off the show and then we heard more news about how close he was, how he was in Cincinnati for his physical, I thought it was a done deal. Maybe you could question the age of Fernandez, who we were going to bring in to be that attacking midfielder, but there was experience and the pedigree, and you kind of thought, well, you know what, it's worth the risk, at least, especially for a first-year team. And then, reports are that he failed his medical, and then the whole deal's kind of fallen through the cracks now. Whether he did or FC Cincinnati just couldn't come to terms with his loan amount or his with the team he plays for now, Nexta in Mexico. I'm not sure what the case is, but sadly, we are still on the hunt, and there's more rumors to go.
There are more rumors, which we'll dive into a little bit later on in the show. But as I mentioned, the Kings Hammer Hotline, it is a free-for-all tonight, folks. We are going to discuss whatever you want, so get in touch. 513-399-KICK. Let's head over to the Kings Hammer Hotline and welcome in our first caller tonight, our old buddy Chris Weimer. Chris, how are you, buddy?
I'm doing good. How about yourself?
I'm doing well. Thanks for asking. Hope all is well. What's on your mind?
No, I was just looking for, with preseason coming in and things like that, what would you guys say would be a successful preseason for us? What expectations would you guys have for this new team coming in?
You're talking about just specifically the preseason, or are you talking about the season overall?
Just preseason. What were some things we should look at as fans being new to the MLS? What are some things we should look out for and be watching for in these next couple of games coming up?
Well, I'll tell you
for
what.
me, it's easy.
Oh,
I mean,
go ahead, Bill.
I was going to say, as long as, one of the Weigels doesn't get into it with the coach, I'm going to consider it a successful preseason.
True story.
I wasn't going to go there. No, for me, look, I just feel like today's kind of a big scare. I don't want to see any injuries this preseason. So for me, I don't care how they play in these preseason matches. As long as they get through preseason injury-free, that's all I care about. Boston, you want to add anything to that?
Yeah. I think there's a real concern when you bring a lot of international players over into Major League Soccer. And if you've watched a little bit of MLS in the years past or, listen to the analysts that are talking about our team now, the question is, how will these international players perform? Because they have to adapt to a Major League Soccer style, and there really is a style around MLS that they are not playing in their respective second division or first division leagues over there. So, how will players like Bertone, Duplan, these guys coming in, if we bring in a South American or Mexican number 10, how are they going to adapt to this Major League Soccer feel? There's a lot of speed, there's a lot of working into the attack that is a little bit different. And if you watch these games, go back and watch a game or two last year, especially watch Atlanta United, and just see how they work as a team and a unit. So I'm going to be looking for that chemistry factor, that international player factor. Do these guys, does it click, or are they struggling? And are we going to have to put in more of our USL guys, the guys that are used to an American system?
One thing I remember quite a bit from last preseason, and Bill can attest to this too, is knowing Alan and the way he approaches things. He's looking for the best partnerships. And so that was something that I think he probably told us last spring probably 50 times that week we were in Florida, Bill. So that's probably something we're going to be looking at.
Yeah, and I think the other
Cool.
thing to be very aware of early on is, when we saw the very beginning games, the one down in IMG, I mean, he pretty much gave everybody equal playing time. There was no desire, or no, I shouldn't say no desire. That's not correct. There was no requirement for Allen that they win the games, right? I mean, what he wanted to do was learn what his players were capable of. Try, as Nick just said, to mix these players up to find out about partnerships, things that worked, things that didn't work. Try maybe even some different formations. So it kind of stuck to the 4-2-3-1, as I recall last year in the preseason. But he's experimenting, and we have a lot of new faces, and a lot of new players, a lot of new partnerships. So I expect to see a lot of experimenting. I would guess that maybe the Carolina Challenge Cup, if I got the name right, that's the sort of the second part of the preseason, right? You've got 3 games down in Florida. You've got the Indy game. And then you've got the 3 in Charleston.
Yeah.
My guess is he'll be a little more serious there. Last year, we saw that he started doing sort of like, what would it be, like 60-30 or even maybe, less than 30 for some of the players that were obviously not looking like they were going to be starters at the beginning of the season. So we'll start to see that starting lineup form probably around the Charleston games. And I believe our very last game is against the Crew, which I think is perfect. Because that's probably the game he's going to take the most serious. And if I remember right, the very last game of the preseason, not the ones against, local teams and things like that, but against the big players, that was the one where he said, we're going to try to go out and do this for real. It doesn't necessarily mean that we're going to win it, but that's certainly his idea. But again, we took some, it took a while, right? I mean, last year, with all the new players we brought in, we saw the results at the end of the season, and at the beginning of the season, the end of the preseason, the results weren't there. So I hope everybody understands that we're doing the same thing this year. I mean, yes, we have a core of 10 or 11 players that we brought back, but if not a lot of them are starting, we are kind of starting over.
Yeah.
So,
Chris, what about you? What is your expectations or hope for a successful preseason?
I'm just staying healthy, and just finding that chemistry like last year. And it took us a little while last year to get the chemistry, but that's all I'm really looking for. Just staying competitive. That's my theory for this year, is just be competitive and don't get blown out. And hopefully we get a 8th or 7th or 6th, 7th or 8th spot in the playoffs.
Well, we don't want an A spot because that means we missed the playoffs.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, you got USL on the brain.
That's true. You do have USL on the brain.
I got USL. I got USL on the brain, taking 8 spots, but just getting one of those last playoff spots, and kind of just staying competitive and winning some games we're not supposed to, but also knowing we're probably going to lose a couple games that we're supposed to win. So just growing pains this year and staying competitive and seeing where we go for future. But it's finally here. It's exciting. I can't wait. I can't wait to be in Seattle in March. So it's going to be awesome.
Oh, very nice, Chris. Appreciate the call, buddy. Don't be a stranger.
See you guys.
That's Chris kicking things off on the Kings Hammer Hotline tonight. 513-399-KICK, 513-399-KICK. We've got lines open, so get in touch with us tonight. Gus Schlomer in the YouTube chat says, the Facebook chat, his, expectations or hopes for a successful preseason would be winning the Carolina Challenge Cup. So those of you who aren't aware, FC Cincinnati is going down to Charleston, where they will be taking part in the Carolina Challenge Cup. They will be facing off against the Chicago Fire, the Columbus Crew, and the Charleston Battery. That's right. They are the returning champions. Basically, if you didn't have a C, if your team name or city didn't start with a C, you weren't invited to this Carolina Challenge Cup. It's very, I don't even know where I'm going with this, but no, it's exciting.
CST Cup with 4 C teams.
That's right. So, look, this is exciting. They'll play the Crew down there, so we'll have our first Hell is Real in a friendly, which is kind of weird. But
second Hell is Real.
Well, I mean, this year. First as a Major League Soccer team, Bill. But yep. I know what you mean. So that's exciting. Boston, you had mentioned maybe possibly going down to Charleston. Is that something in the works?
Yeah, I think so. The crew game, maybe not the others because they spread it out over a full week. So that'll be a little difficult to try to work out.
I don't know,
But
man.
yeah,
With the weather we've had this week, I think I'm ready for Charleston.
yeah. I know I definitely want to go. I've loved going down there every single year. They have a great supporter base and a great place to tailgate, and they go all out with their food and it's just phenomenal. Three Lions Pub, check it out if you can make the trip. I'm going down for the crew game for sure. I think.
Very cool. We've got some more action here in the chat rooms. Let's see here. Todd Cunningham on YouTube says, my preseason expectation is to beat the crew. That is all. All right. I like that. Let's see. Harry Austin, good friend of the show down in San Antonio. Looking forward to Lance Lang doing some work down in San Antonio. So, Harry, appreciate you tuning in. Let's see here. We've got some more as well. This is from Twitter. Jammin1403 says, chemistry is key for sure. And then we also got one from Adam Baker. New stadium being built looks sick. So, yeah, I haven't had a chance to really see much of the new stadium, obviously being here in Northwest Ohio. But it sounds like things are progressing there down on the West End, so that's exciting stuff. Again, we've got phone lines open, 513-399-KICK, 513-399-KICK. A lot of folks in the chat room wanting to know about the rumors we kind of spoke about a little bit earlier on before we spoke with Chris. But it sounds like they had potentially a number 10 in. We don't know if that was actually confirmed or not. These were just Twitter rumors, which we know how that goes. But it sounded like there was an attacking midfielder named Diego, who Orlando City had their eye on, but ultimately it didn't work out there. But it sounded like maybe FC Cincinnati were in the mix to try and bring him in. This is a guy who, as we mentioned, Orlando City had their eye on. James O'Connor was really high on him. I don't know. I think, what we know of James O'Connor, he knows his stuff from what we saw there in Louisville. It was kind of an interesting selection, Diego. We don't know much about him, but Boston, when you heard that Twitter rumor and you heard that the Fernandez deal was falling through, I don't know. We kind of got a little bit excited about that, but then there's been nothing since.
I feel like you're distancing yourselves from your own Twitter rumor there, Subs. It was, CST reported that that Diego was in town, and it's, I think he was spotted here, and we got word about that, and so we definitely know that there was some kind of a discussion. But, and this is the real problem, is he wants to go back and play for his current club. He's kind of using some of these Major League Soccer teams as a negotiation tactic. So I wouldn't write it off, and I wouldn't say it's a done deal. I think FC Cincinnati's in the mix. Orlando gave up. They offered him a 3-year deal reportedly, and they finally just got sick of waiting on him. So FC Cincinnati's in that game now. Will his current club offer him the deal he wants? If not, is FC Cincinnati an option? I think that's kind of where it is. But we do strongly suspect the club has talked to him and at least is an option.
Our own Brian Weigel could not be on the show tonight, but he was really itching to be on so we could talk about this very subject, about the number 10 spot. He gave me some notes that he wanted me to share on the show to let everybody know his thoughts on the number 10 spot. He says it's more important to find the number 10 that you want than go and sign any half-decent number 10 that's available. You don't need a 10 in all systems. We have Nazmi and Bone who can create, along with Bertone and Cruz, who should be able to get the ball to the wingers. I think he just wanted me to say a bad word there. I have a bad history with that. Ledesma and Maddox want to get the ball and move centrally anyway. Maybe we aren't as efficient as 2018, but we can still create without a true 10. Then when summer comes, go and get a guy that you truly want. In today's game, which width doesn't solely have to come from wingers, fullbacks do a lot. You can also play a 3-man high line with Maddox, Addy, Lama, and Ledesma. You can put Ulloa, Bertone, Cruz in midfield. One of them has to stay home when a fullback goes forward, but it is really possible to play without a 10. That being said, I want a 10 because you still need to vary attack, and a true playmaker can help pick and pull apart teams. My tactics mentioned require speed and a quick attack, good quick passing, which can also lead conceding counters. So a lot to digest there. But Bill, Brian basically making the point, laying it out there, that you don't necessarily have to have a 10 to succeed in Major League Soccer.
Oh, I mean, he's right, for sure. It's not the only way to win a game. It's not the only way to play a game. Certainly there are other formations and styles that stay away from that. I mean, the bucket 4-4-2 formation that the US used for so many years basically leaves a gap in that space. So, I mean, there are ways to do it. It doesn't necessarily, some are more efficient than others. And, I think it's just, you go with who you have. You have to figure out the formation that works for the players you have. So it seems like Allen is interested in a 10. We've certainly expressed some interest in some 10 type players. We played the 4-2-3-1 a lot last year with the idea of having a 10. I don't know that Bone or Nas were necessarily successful in that formation. Maybe Nas a little more near the end of the year, but even then, he didn't create as many chances as were expected. So, would we really say we had a creative playmaker last year? I don't know that we did. So, and we did well. So, yeah.
I don't know if we've had I don't know if we've had a creative playmaker in the 3 years of this club, Boston.
It's not common in USL.
Yeah, I mean, we thought we almost did, right? We at the beginning of the season we had Nazmi shooting balls up from the top of the box, and he ended up getting over 10 goals spread out. I think he tapered off there for a little bit.
But that's not really a playmaker for me. I mean, that's somebody who's coming out of the attacking midfield and scoring for you. He's scoring goals, but is he creating chances?
Well, yeah, I mean, I guess I see your point. We'd have to look at the list. There was somebody on our list last year that did have a really high chance, creation chance. Maybe
Manu,
it was
Manu had 15 assists. So,
and he created more chances than Nas did.
Yeah. Oh, well, yeah. But I think FC Cincinnati's biggest question mark is we built this team around Fernando Adi. We've paid millions of dollars to have Fernando Adi as that number 9, and the key to our success is going to be, can we develop a system that this is our guy? Like, there's no changing that is our guy. So you have to have a system that is built around him and gets the ball to him. He's got to be the man that we're paying him to be. And then what I'd like to see out of attacking midfield is just be a distraction, be a chance creator, but also be threatening enough that you can free him up, because if he's double teamed every game, like we saw at the end of the USL season, then I don't know how productive he's going to be.
Yeah, look, would it be nice to have a 10, a playmaking guy that can pick and pull apart defenses? Absolutely. But as Brian said, you don't want to just spend money on any number 10. You want to make sure that you get the one you want and invest properly. So, appreciate Brian chiming in there. We've got phone lines open, though. Get in touch with us on the Kings Hammer Hotline, 513-399-KICK. It's like the chat room's ears are burning, because all of a sudden they're talking about this next guy on our rundown, and that's Roland Lamah. We saw some social media posts that the man is in town here for FC Cincinnati preseason, Boston. That is exciting. We don't have any word as far as an official signing, but the fact that he's in Cincinnati, I think that changes our level of, I think last week we thought we answered this on Extra Time. We thought it was a 6, and then we thought it was a 0, and then it changed to a 6. Now where are you at?
Bill was at a 30%. I was at a 60%, if memory serves me correctly. You were 50-50. Yeah, because you take no chances. And I think right now I'm the closest to it, just because if that deal was nowhere near done, what incentive would there be for him to be in town? He cannot play if he's not on the roster. He cannot play in preseason. He cannot practice. So why is he here? That's the big question. So maybe it's pretty close.
Bill, you got anything to add on that?
Not really. I mean, Luke basically let us know that it wasn't over, and he's here, and that seems to make sense. So, Yeah, I would say it's not over till it's over, and there's still a chance, but it is concerning that literally today players reported, tomorrow preseason officially begins, and the media starts showing up, and nothing's still been said. But we signed players down at IMG, we signed players later than that, so
yeah, and we will be
who'd come on. So
yeah, and we will be on hand tomorrow, so we will see which of these players is at practice, right, Bill?
yeah, we won't personally, but yeah. CST will.
Yes, CST will be at the first training, the first session of preseason training tomorrow there at the Shakely, Shakely Dome, where it'll be nice and toasty. Whereas,
got a comment on Facebook from David Rodrigo. Maybe he's in town for our beautiful weather.
He really wanted to make a snow angel. This is the one place you can get it done.
If you've wanted to see snow, this is your chance this week. So yeah, I think it's going to get done. Looked like you were going to add something there, Bill.
No, I'm good.
All right. Okay. So, we think it's going to get done. The fact he's in town is pretty promising. So I'm going to go from 50 up to 51%, Boston. I'm really taking that chance there. Yep. I really am. So
I will say that I'm pretty excited about this guy. I think more so than a lot of our signings, just because this was the number 2 highest paid player on Dallas's roster last year, and they felt like he was overpaid for what he produced, and maybe he was. So FC Cincinnati is trying to bring that salary down to, if we can get that salary down to right around where his expectations are, and then he has to try to prove us wrong and go out there. And I would love to see him have a lower salary with high performance based bonuses. I mean, I think that'd be great for that guy and really benefit the team.
Yeah, that would be, I mean, it would be helpful. There's no question about that. I think there's still the question of international spots and how many we have versus how many are open. And as Luke said last week on the show, Luke Sassano, technical director for FC Cincinnati, mentioned that really you don't have to have anything locked down till March 1st. So the day before they kick things off in Seattle. So there's plenty of time to get that all sorted out as far as green cards, international spots, and whatnot. So Boston mentioned he was very excited about Lamar being in town. I don't know if you've had a chance to catch this or not, but Kendall Waston was on the Max and Herc podcast from ESPN FC, and I had a chance to listen to that today. And after hearing Kendall talk about how excited he was to be in Cincinnati, I'm pretty stoked about that. So I'll make sure to include the link to that podcast in this week's show notes so you can go take a listen to it. He's the second half of that podcast with Diego Valeri there being the first part. But he's never been to Cincinnati before, guys. But he's excited. He hasn't heard of the chili either, which we'll have to work on.
Oh,
he's going to step off that plane and be like, what did I do?
Yeah, what a time to come, right?
Yeah, but he's been in Vancouver, which probably isn't the warmest of places either. So,
oh yeah, this might actually be warm then.
Yeah. But I'm excited about that. And again, I said I'll make sure I link the podcast episode in this week's show notes. Rob Pierce getting very lonely, folks, and there's quite a few of you watching. I can see exactly how many of you are watching. He's getting very lonely over there, having to watch us chat about soccer tonight. Get in touch with us on the Kings Hammer Hotline, 513-399-KICK. While we have a moment, why don't we give a big shout out and thanks to our tremendous supporters, Kings Hammer and Tim Bronsel, Matt Adamchick, Mama Subs, Brian Malone, Jamie Smed, Mike Hudson, Jonas Tom, Jack Emery, Mike Bowman, Kathleen Francis, Jesse King, Teresa Everidge, Matt Imholt, and Matthew Long. Thank you so much for your support of Cincinnati Soccer Talk. To learn more about how you can support CST, head on over to our website, cincinnatiSoccerTalk.com/support. We've got a lot of stuff in the works for 2019, a lot of road trips, a lot of coverage, any spare change you can find there in your couches. Help send us, send it our way. We could use the assistance. Again, cincinnatiSoccerTalk.com/support. We did get this tweet here this week. This is it was an interesting concept because there are some Major League Soccer teams who have traditions, right? And obviously FC Cincinnati, really only 3 years old, heading into year 4, not really a whole lot of chance to really create a tradition. We tried the welcome home this year. That didn't really pan out as what we had hoped for it. But we got this tweet this week from Tyler Mogus. He says, Atlanta United has their golden spike in the Portland Timbers saw off a log slab for every goal scored. What game day traditions would you all like to see at Nippert Stadium this year? Very interesting. Bill, you're a Knight. Anything that comes to mind?
Oh, are you baiting me now? Because I know what you've got queued up for our.
I don't know what you're talking about.
No, I've got nothing in mind at all. Nothing.
How about you, Boston?
Oh man, this was I ran across a thread online about a month ago. Somebody wondering something similar, and my idea at the time was, I struggled because we're famous. We got famous foods here, a lot of famous Cincinnati based restaurants and ice creams, but none of that's really possible in a game day setting. Famous for beer, that's difficult to work with. Everybody's already drinking. Pigs, so my one idea was killing a pig, but then apparently that would be like a sanitation hazard and animal cruelty or something. So I think one of the best ideas I saw out there was to have giant pig balloons that you would release every time a goal was scored, and then everybody outside the stadium would just be like, why are there giant floating pigs above the Bailey? But that was a neat thing to just visualize in my head, but probably it doesn't work either. So I don't know. This is confusing.
I really like the log, what Portland does with Timber Joe or Timber Joey. So I don't know. It's tough. We've seen somebody, Gus in the chat room says, someone stand on the field and slam a cheese coney or something, shotgun a beer for all I care.
But it's too small. I love those ideas, but it's not cutting a log, ginormous tree, big. Like you need something big.
And it's tough too with the way the Bailey is configured. It's tough for players to get up there to. And that's one of the cool things about Portland, right? They've got the stairs up to the stands where when they do celebrate, the logs there, it's kind of exciting. So the Bailey being where it is kind of makes that tough. And that might be something to consider as we get into the West End Stadium, and I don't know. We'll see. We did come across this fun little nugget. Maybe we should do something with a get a log. Oh, that's a great image of Bill Wolf. So Manny Fester on Instagram, give him a follow. It's a shot of Bill with a chainsaw cutting the get a log.
I'm all for it, by the way.
Yeah, I'm all for eating it.
Yeah, I'll jump down there with a chainsaw. I'll hack that thing apart, man.
Then steel oak cannons would work. You could just stuff steel oats in a cannon, fire it off, and that could be our confetti.
Yeah, or we could just do a normal size get a log, and I'll have like a little electric knife down the field, and I was me. But whatever, it's all good.
I like it. I'm a big fan of the Geta. Don't get it up here as much as I would like to, thanks to Mama Sue. She brings it up with every trip. But again, that's a pretty. I love that. I just love the image of Bill just sawing away at that Geta log. Have you ever had Geta, Bill?
I'm a vegetarian.
I know, but I didn't know if.
Nope.
No, I'm sorry.
Nope, it's all good.
On that,
I've been a vegetarian since 14, so it's kind of like,
Then that's the Geta's probably not in your. Yeah, there. I'm sorry.
Nope.
Understand.
They make vegetarian everything now, though. There's got to be a way to make vegetarian Geta. Something vegetarian mixed with steel cut oats and patty it.
It just no.
The Kings Hammer Hotline is open, 513-399-KICK. Let's welcome into the show Kevin, who joins us now on the CST Hotline. If my mouse would decide to work, come on. My batteries must be dying on this mouse. Come on.
So we're not taking calls
There we
anymore.
go. We got it now. Kevin, welcome to CST. How are you?
Hey. I'm all right. How are you guys doing tonight?
We're doing well. What's going on, brother?
Hey, I know we're dealing with a free-for-all tonight, so I wanted to kind of throw this out there. Something that's been bothering me the last week or two has been honestly the disrespect FC Cincinnati has been getting for the way that they're building their roster. I think that a lot of our players that we're bringing in, if they were going to other teams, would be immediately considered much better players. I'm thinking of guys like Alan Cruz and Bertoni in particular. These are two guys that I think if going to Atlanta or going to LA Galaxy would be considered, really, really strong, smart signings of young, up-and-coming players who are looking for that next step before they move on to a massive club in Europe. And these are the guys that are, possibly, as far as I can see it, are going to be the core of our team going into next year. So that's got me bothered. The other thing is, just while you give me an opportunity to rant for a hot second, is the lack of USL knowledge in Major League Soccer writers and people who cover Major League Soccer. We've got guys on our team like Forrest Lasso and Nas, and then guys like Adi and Alashe who played last year in USL. And as far as any MLS pundit is concerned, they did not play soccer in 2018. That these guys fell off the map. They weren't anywhere. And I really think that if some MLS pundits actually stopped and paid attention to USL, it's not the same USL that Orlando played in. As much fun as it is to get compared to that, I think our team is going to be much, much better than any of these guys are predicting.
Well, to be fair, and again, I don't know which which MLS pundits you're referring to, but I do listen to Extra Time Radio, and I know Bobby Warshaw has praised the likes of Jimmy McLaughlin, who unfortunately we know what happened with Jimmy, but I think he's one of the few guys who gets the USL and what FC Cincinnati did last year. I think David Goss as well there on that program. But if you're talking about somebody like Alexi Lawless, yeah, I don't think he watched any games last year, nor would I have expected him to. Taylor Twellman, I think you would think the fact that he's been to town a couple times would understand it. So I see what you're saying there, Kev, but it's not every MLS pundit, but I hear what you're saying.
He's not terribly far off. Some of those MLS soccer guys, like those are the guys I'm thinking of, like Sam Steckel, and like some of the MLS soccer writers seem to be the biggest the opponents so far. And at first it was they're too young. They signed way too many USL players. Now it's we're too old. So I find it interesting how it has switched all the way around, even though our average age isn't that bad. So it's interesting. I think a lot of people are just down on us because, it is an expansion year and there are places we've had to just grab what we could that, for instance, if the guy that's currently rumored, to be an FC Cincinnati player, the guy that we got in the expansion draft is a castaway from Dallas. He was cut because he's making too much. So there are those type of players, and those fan bases are down on us because why would you want that guy? We cut him. And I think that's where some of it comes from.
I'll tell you this too, Kevin. Vegas, I saw the Superbook odds for winning the MLS Cup this year. And, for an expansion team, you would think FC Cincinnati would be at the bottom, second bottom. No, they're top of the last 25% there. I mean, they're ahead of Vancouver, New England, Minnesota, San Jose, Orlando, and Colorado as far as the odds go. So at least they're getting some respect from Vegas, I think.
I mean, that's a fair point, but if I'm not mistaken, the way MLS playoffs are going to set up this year is only 5 teams in each conference aren't making the playoffs.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And once you've made it, it's a one-off knockout tournament. I mean, honestly, there's no point in playing the regular season because that is just such chaos to put towards your postseason with so many teams getting in that, yeah, we could easily rattle off 4 wins. We saw it in the Open Cup, but give us, double, triple the payroll. Yeah, I like our chances against anybody, regardless of who our roster is, just the way the sport is laid out. But yeah, I mean, you look at a team like Orlando and New England, these are teams that are just floundering at the moment. They're just absolutely incapable of putting together a team right now. And yeah, I mean, as soon as you start putting us like in a group of 3 people fighting for that last playoff spot, why not? Why can't we win the MLS Cup? The way they set up the postseason is so silly that I think anybody's got a shot.
That is a good point. I'm not a fan of the new playoff system. I'm not a fan of, 7 teams making it, but I think they did that in preparation for what's ahead as far as expansion goes. I'm with you, Kev. I'm with you. You got anything else you want to add tonight?
I think that's all I got. I just think I think the point there of like MLS writers or people who are going to write about MLS need to start paying attention to USL, because when you see guys like Mark Anthony Kaye, who turned into an MVP candidate before he got hurt at LAFC, and some of these other guys moving up from the lower divisions up into MLS, it's kind of inexcusable that sort of our soccer intelligentsia is just unaware of the second division in our country. I mean, try imagining like some of your favorite Premier League writers or your Premier League pundits just being absolutely unaware of what was going on in the championship. You would probably think of less of them, and you probably should. So I don't know. It's been a pet peeve of mine recently. So I figured on a free-for-all night, I'd call you up and throw it out to the internet.
Well, we love hearing the rants, Kev. Appreciate all that you do, and hope things are going well at the Sign Museum.
Things are going great. If you don't mind, for just a hot second here, the Pride is doing their beginning of year scarf release party February 9th at the Sign Museum. So if you're a member of the Pride, that is your first opportunity to be picking up some Pride gear. So if you were on the fence about join before then and get your scarf with the first batch there.
Where can people join at, Kev?
You can join at thepridecincy.com. You can also probably just search The Pride FC Cincinnati on Google, and if that doesn't get you there, I gotta talk to our website guys.
Kev, as always, we appreciate it, buddy.
Awesome. Have a good night, guys.
You too. That's Kevin giving us a ring here on the Kings Hammer Hotline. We've got phone lines open, 513-399-KICK, 513-399-KICK. Rob Pierce standing by, ready to take your calls. Again, we're going to make him stay up way past his bedtime, folks. So let's do that. Rob Pierce likes to go to bed at like 8 o'clock. So we're going to make him stay up super, super late. Speaking of playoffs, this coming from Liam in the chat room on our Facebook chat. The new playoff system is so that players like Zlatan Ibrahimovic never miss the playoffs again. Interesting take. I didn't think of it that way. They were that last team out there in the Western Conference this year. Seems a little fishy, possibly. Again, 513-399-KICK, 513-399-KICK. Let's hope. I probably should have changed the batteries on this wireless mouse before the show. Let's try going back to the Kings Hammer Hotline. There we go. And let's welcome in Chris to the show. Chris, welcome to CST. How are you, bud?
Hey, what's up, guys?
All right, doing well. What's up?
All is well.
Very good.
Looking forward to a great season. I know many of us are getting ready to jump on that plane to Seattle, which is going to be great. But one of the things I just wanted to throw out there is, we're talking about the front office kind of raising their game, the team, former players raising their game. I think another thing that has to be addressed is those of us who, embody the Bailey. We have to raise our game. We have to go to, I think, another level of what it looks like to support, to kind of be together. And I think one of the things we always talk about is because the Bailey itself is like its own entertainment, and value signs. People buy tickets to get in, to be near the Bailey and to experience it. And I think just a reminder that like the way that we're going to make our mark on the MLS is that we can't be like near the Bailey. We have to be the Bailey. So if you buy tickets or you're a season ticket holder to be in it, the way that we come together to actually make the atmosphere together is all about that. We say like we're singing and we're chanting for 90 minutes plus, as Darren, often instructs us to do so. And I just want to send that invitation that we need everybody on that page rocking the Bailey. It's not something that's just for a few do and we all look at them, but we all kind of do it together.
Yeah, I mean that's a good point, Chris. When you say you want fans in the ability to step up, like, is there something specific you're looking for?
Well, I think there are times, like particularly, the reason why we're building such, I think, a defensive, stalwart team is that we're expected to be in close matches. We're trying not to give up a lot of goals so we can be right there with them. So when we're at it's a 0-0 game, or it's a 1-goal game. There are times last year, maybe because we were just so used to having a dominant team, that we literally got quiet, and it would be maybe a third of the Bailey was chanting and bringing it, and then perhaps 2/3. Obviously, everyone's there to have a good time, and partying's a part of the Bailey. But we want to use that energy to gear it towards the lads, towards the boys in the field. So just participating, finding out like what the chants are ahead of time. If you like me, like I have an extra season ticket that I save for. That I bring a new person with me. I try to every match. And so to tell them, like, hey, here's where the lyrics are for the chants. You can find them online. You can find them on YouTube. And, just learn them ahead of time, but just participate with everybody. And, again, don't watch those around you. Join in.
I think that's awesome. Obviously, as somebody who's a knight and plays drums, that resonates a lot with me. And for sure. I mean, I think one issue that I saw kind of near the end of the season was when the team would go down, people would like hang their heads. And especially, I mean, in a stadium, there's, let's say 30,000 people there, 25,000 people there. And, people are going to get upset, right? I mean, they're there to enjoy the game and such. But if you're in the supporter section, you're there to do something different. I mean, you chose to be in that section. It's standing for a reason. There's drums and smoke in that section for a reason. And, the goal is not to hang your head and sit down on the bench and say, oh, woe is me. The point is that we can affect the outcome of the game. We are the 12th man. And if the 12th man gives up, that's the edge. Right. That's what makes our home team do better, is that 12th man. And if the 12th man gives up on the team is going to suffer for it. And, we saw the team asking for sound. They were asking the stadium to make more noise near the end of the season on some of those playoff games. And I agree. We need to step up a little bit. We need to get people clapping. We need to get people singing. If you don't know the lyrics, ask. They're out there. I understand if you're in the corners, it's harder to hear what people are saying. Well, ask the guy beside you and make him ask. Eventually, everybody on the outside is going to know what's going on, because if everybody sings, you'll be able to hear it. It's just when it collapses into a core of 100 people in the middle around the drums, we feel it as well. And as a drummer, I can say that every time you beat that drum, you want that energy behind you. It's to have 500, to have 1,000 people singing and clapping. I could hit that thing all day long. But when it starts to be, everybody thinks we're going to lose the game, man, every one of those hits, you just feel every one of those up in your shoulder, and you just start to get tired too, because like you're carrying it. So.
Yeah, I know on a show like this, sometimes it's kind of preaching to the choir with the people that are taking time out of their lives to listen to this podcast, and so we understand that. What I would just challenge is try something new this year. Supporter groups do a lot of things outside of the Bailey as well. Charities. I know DI is trying to fund a stair run right now at a building downtown, and so it's like that kind of stuff happening in the off season. Bachfest parades are coming up. Pride has activities like we just heard coming up. TIFO painting. Oh my word, we have to up our TIFO game. We did 2 last year, and that's not on anyone. That's a lot on the fans. We have to fund those things. We have to get out there and paint those things, and I think that we can really make an impact charity wise and display wise and all that kind of stuff. Try something new if you haven't done it.
There for sure will be an opening game TIFO. I don't think it's been determined yet by the supporters groups what it's going to be. I know there's a lot of ideas being thrown around, but yeah, I mean, the more people that come out to paint, the faster these things get done. And honestly, it's a great excuse to drink some beer and meet some people. So
yeah. TIFO painting is awesome.
It's a blast.
I do every one I can.
Good stuff, gents. Chris, appreciate the call. And I know you're going to be making some away trips this year. Safe travels, and we hope to hear from you again soon, bud.
Absolutely appreciate you guys.
That's Chris Marshall giving us a ring here on the Kings Hammer Hotline. Again, we've got phone lines open while we've got a few minutes left here in the show. 513-399-KICK, 513-399-KICK. Don't forget, coming up after the show, we've got CST Extra Time. You can always send us your tweets at Cincy Soccer Talk with the hashtag CST Extra Time. Our intern, Jacob Clary, has come up with some good ones this week. So, again, stay tuned for that. Lots to digest here as we begin to wrap things up. What's the one thing? How do I want to put this, guys? Because preseason camp kicks off tomorrow. We know there's a process. We've heard this before. Trust the process, right? What's the one thing you're looking most important to, or the one thing you're most looking forward to as far as this training camp kicking off tomorrow? I'll start with you, Boston.
Ooh. I honestly just want to see these guys get to know each other, gel. I'm not looking for any spectacular goal highlight reels. I'm not looking for, the highlights from Charlie Hatch or whatever. I just want these guys to get along, because that's I think what we need early. I think we need chemistry. I think we need buddying up. We need duos, and this preseason is going to be it's going to be very similar to last season. Last year, we tore our roster down and built it back up. We're doing the exact same thing. I'd be surprised if there's more than one or two guys in this year's starting 11 that was in last year's. So we have an all new team to put together, and the faster these guys can get to know each other, relate, get to know each other's soccer style, that's what it's about for me.
Yeah. How about you, Bill? What's the one thing you're most looking forward to?
From the humorous side, let's not have a scandal at the beginning of the preseason. From the real side of things, no, I mean, obviously, once it was sort of like, hey, you're in the MLS. I started paying a lot more attention to MLS games. I mean, I've been a Crew fan for years, et cetera. I grew up in Columbus. I was a season ticket holder. It's not like I didn't watch MLS, but I started following FCC. I started following the USL. And then, I started going back and watching some of these MLS games in comparison to Cincinnati and the USL. And I can say they go a lot faster. I mean, the speed of play, the speed of thought is dramatically faster. And that's going to be the thing that I'm going to be looking for from this team is how quick can they move? How quick can they think? Because, I mean, we have to, we have to go to the next gear from what we're used to. And I think it'll be exciting to watch. Certainly there's going to be some really exciting teams to play against. And we need to get there too. We have to make sure that these guys are just that next gear faster.
Yep. So. Good stuff, Bill. Yeah, I'm excited just the fact that we've got soccer kicking back off. It really felt like yesterday things wrapped up against the Red Bulls too. It didn't seem like it was all that long ago. It was a very quick offseason with the expansion draft, the MLS Super Draft, and here we are ready to start off 2019. So that's very exciting. So as I mentioned earlier, for me, I just want the biggest thing for me, let's just get out of this preseason injury-free for the most part. Bummed to hear about Jimmy McLaughlin today, but that is my biggest hope, and we'll see what happens. Let's wrap things up here on episode 149. My thanks to Rob Pierce for manning the Kings Hammer Hotline tonight. Thank you for everybody calling in tonight. I'll send it over to Bill Wolf. Bill Wolf with our final thought, your final thought tonight, Bill. Appreciate you being back on the show this week.
Oh, no problem. My final thought is, thinking about Jimmy a little bit and this tragic news today. I hope somebody has let Kroger's know in Oakley to cut back on their watermelon orders. So,
oh, that's funny. Classic Jimmy. Bill, appreciate you being on the show. As always, you're the man.
Here for fun, man.
Final thoughts from Boston Razzle Dazzle Brazzle, Mr. PTO himself.
Hey, this is not really FC Cincinnati related, but I've still enjoyed watching soccer expansion around the United States and places that that might get a team here soon, and places that unfortunately are still having trouble. And my kind of hometown, or where my family all lives, in Knoxville, Tennessee, lost the Force this week. I just learned, and man, that stinks. It was amateur soccer, but it was the only soccer in Knoxville. So I'm hoping that I got brothers and stuff that I would love to join me in this experience. And my one brother's going down to Atlanta United with me, but until they have a professional team of their own, it's going to be hard for them to latch on and embrace the sport. So kind of just pulling for the Knoxville market. I know that's weird and random, but that's what's on my mind.
What was the name of that team, Boston?
The Knoxville Force.
Oh, so the Force was not strong in that town?
How long were you waiting? My whole spiel to shoot that one out.
Pretty much, yeah. I was waiting for about a minute. No, I'm kidding, of course. That is sad. You don't ever want to hear about soccer not succeeding in this country. That unfortunately happens all too often. Hopefully that is turning, and we're getting to the point now where more and more markets are getting involved. So sorry to hear that, Boston, but again, appreciate you being on the show as always.
Oh, pleasure to be back. Looking forward to extra time.
Yeah. That is coming up here in just a moment. Don't forget, you can rate and review the show on iTunes. CincinnatiSoccerTalk.com/iTunes is where you can find the show. If you want to learn how to subscribe to the show, head on over to CincinnatiSoccerTalk.com/forms. It's not just iTunes, but we're also on Google Podcasts. We're on Spotify. We're on TuneIn, Stitcher. So go check that out. And then again, as I mentioned, you can help support the show by heading over to CincinnatiSoccerTalk.com/support. Again, my thanks to Rob Pierce for manning the phones tonight, and of course to Boston Razzle Dazzle Brazzle and Bill Wolf. I'm Subes, reminding you to watch your tackles. CST Extra Time is coming up next. We'll see you all next week. Hey, we're back for CST Extra Time. This is where we take the best of the best tweets today, as our intern Jacob Clary has collected them all. He's reviewed them. He's dissected each and every one of them, and he's come up with the best of the best. And the best part is, these guys have no idea what I'm about to show them. So here goes. First tweet of the day comes from AJ Stork. Which members on the roster should we expect to best play off each other's individual playing styles? Loaded question right there, Boston.
Yeah, that's tough. I mean, the pairing that immediately jumps in my mind, but I don't quite know if we'll see it, is Audie and Powell, who played together in Portland before. I think that's a natural go-to if they both can get on the field at the same time. I'd love to see a good, strong center back pairing back there with Garza and Watson, whoever really forms that back line. Those are my natural, spontaneous. I wish you'd let me read these things before picks.
Well, what fun is that? What fun is that? Come on now, Bill. Anything to add there?
I think I always talk a lot about the midfield, especially the holding mids. That's a pretty key role for me. So we often play two holding mids, 4-2-3-1 or a diamond or something. Well, the diamond, we tend not to have the two, but a 4-4-2, sometimes you see it. Anyway, a lot of times it's the holding mids for me that kind of make or break our ability to carry the ball forward. So I'm curious about the pairings there. Bertone, Cruz, Ula, or I'm not sure how you say his name, but yeah, we've got several like 6/8s, and to me, that's going to be the key to this team is how well those guys naturally pair up and work together. We can win balls in the past in the midfield, but we need to be able to then do something with them, distribute them effectively, to get them up to Audie or to Maddox or whoever's up there. And yeah, that's what I'm looking forward to. I think that'll be the make or break for us.
Next tweet comes from Brandon Gregory. Do you think more emphasis will be placed on the Open Cup this year being a Major League Soccer team now, and in the case we struggle early, best shot at a trophy? Bill, thought about that?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. Typically MLS teams don't pay a lot of attention to the Open Cup. It's, they come in later. They're playing a lower level team. They certainly don't play as much in it as a USL team does, or even some of the semi-pro teams. So it would be normal for us to maybe take less interest in it. But I think our history with that run that we did is going to make that cup at least interesting to a significant portion of our fan base for a while. Someday we'll maybe stop thinking about it, but at least for a while, it's going to be important. And it provides that great opportunity for us to make something happen this season when maybe the MLS itself is not going well. So, and I don't mean like, we're losing every game, but if we're struggling to stay in the middle, and every game's a scrap, if we could make a run into the Open Cup and make it, into the Final Four, or, something to that effect, that would be exciting for people. So,
and we got this on Facebook too, Boston. Nate Hale says Open Cup win is a Champions League spot in the CONCACAF Champions League.
Yep. Yeah, I think once MLS teams are better at CONCACAF's Champions League, you'll actually see more teams focus on trying to win the cup and get that spot. I think that is going to be something in the future. Right now, it's not a heavily sought after item. There are a couple teams that like to go for it, and Sporting KC is one of them. And I think that's I think the real strategy is going to be split. When we play that first game versus the USL team, most likely, it's going to be early in our season. We're still going to have, high expectations for the season, even if we're, under the playoff line. So I think we'll see FC Cincinnati do what a lot of MLS teams do, and that's, put a secondary lineup out there. If they win, then when you have that next game, maybe put a little bit more emphasis on it. And by the time you get into those final 8 or 4 spots, if you're there, then I think that's when you kind of switch and go, you have to go for it because you're in the latter stages of the tournament.
Yeah. It would be nice. Go ahead, Bill.
I was gonna say, I think that CCL spot is exciting to us soccer fans, just, for what it stands for. But at the same time, it really is taxing on the teams. I mean, you're playing a lot of extra games. Certainly it's against very tough competition. So you can't, play a lot of secondary players if you want to do well at all.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, there's travel involved, and it comes at kind of weird times. I think it even splits, doesn't it? If I remember right, like part of it's in one season, part of it's in another season, or maybe you play in one season and you get the right, and then a different team is who actually ends up playing in the CONCACAF Champions League. So
you're right.
It is a challenge to teams roster wise and season wise to play it. It is an honor, and it's exciting for us as fans of the game, but it does put a burden on clubs, so they don't always get so excited about it.
That's true. Thanks for the tweet. This one's from Andy. Who do you predict will surprise you / the fans the most this year?
Player wise?
Sure.
Who's gonna surprise us the most? I honestly, my pick is Ledesma, only because I didn't expect personally him to have a lights out season, but more and more as I see FC Cincinnati's plans unfold, I really think Manu is going to get a lot of chances. I think he's going to be a focal point early. And FC Cincinnati is going to rely on him. And if he takes advantage of those opportunities, I really think he's going to perform and show that he should have been in Major League Soccer years ago.
Yeah, that's a good point. And maybe this wouldn't be a surprise, but I guess the one thing I'm most looking forward to, I'm really looking forward to Bertone there in midfield. What can he offer? Is he going to be a 6? Is he going to be a 10? Is he going to be an 8? Like, what are they going to do with this guy? Because we've seen he's had the ability. I mean, this guy played in the Champions League, like not CONCACAF Champions League. He played in the UEFA Champions League this season for young boys. So this guy is still young, has potential. I'm interested, or I guess It wouldn't really be a surprise because he came from Europe, but I guess that to me is the biggest thing I'm looking forward to. Bill, what about you?
I think I'm going to go and say Audie. I think people gave him kind of a bad rap at the end of last year. They felt like, we paid him a lot of money and somehow he should have just like won the games for us. And I think, part of it was coming in when he did. I think part of it was, the personnel we had. And I think that, we're going to be a little bit more able to build around him, starting with him on the team at the beginning of the year. And then I think the playing style of MLS and hopefully our team adjusts to it. But I think the playing time or the playing style for MLS is going to be more proper for him, for what he wants to do. And I think he'll produce more this year, become a more exciting player for us. And people might have to rethink their original opinion of him.
Yeah. I think he's got guys around him that are much better. The quality already on this roster is already better than what was with this roster last year, the USL side. So I agree with you there 100%, Bill. Next tweet. This is from Arthur. It says, if you guys had to take penalties, who would be in your first five? I'm assuming he's talking about the CST crew.
Yeah, he is.
That's a tough one.
Oh, does he mean we actually have to take penalties?
Yeah, he's talking about CST.
Yeah, think of our staff, Bill, and who are the five guys that you're going to put out there to take your kicks?
Man, let's just put all those young guys up that we brought on this year.
Well, I know some of my picks are gone now. So that's tough. Like a Griff, our old graphics guy, man, he was active and he played. So that makes it tough. I think at this point, you don't want me out there. That would be bad. We go with anyone left that played high school, college soccer. So maybe the twins that played. Bill, how's your kick?
It's been a long time. I don't know that I would put myself in the top five. So I'm wily, but I don't know that I've got the power that I need behind it anymore. So.
Well, I don't want to toot my own horn, but I have taken parts in 2 penalty shootouts in my life. Both times the 5th penalty taker, both times the match-winning penalty taker.
Whoa.
Won a trophy in adult co-ed soccer up here in Toledo on those 2 penalty kick back-to-back weeks. So very proud of that. I have a very unique run-up to my penalty shot. No, I really don't. But I'd like to think I'd be in that first 5. But I'm glad you 2 forgot that I play soccer. Thank you.
I just think of you as a giant, so I didn't know how that would translate to the field. You got to be like the tallest guy now. So
when I'm playing soccer, usually I'm the tallest guy on the field. There's no doubt about that.
And you were a keeper, right?
No.
I thought you were a keeper.
No, I mean I played a little bit when I was younger, but I for the most part played when I first started out. I played out wide as an attacking right wing. And then as I got older and my physical presence started to change, I became a number 6.
Huh.
So, yeah,
learned something new.
Outside back.
I can't, I'm not the fastest guy in the world because I am a giant. Thank you, Boston. But no, I've got some defensive skill.
All right. Yeah, I think we send Joey out there, our new graphics guy, Jacob, our intern, maybe a couple of the other young writers we hired, like Paul, and that's probably our best bet. Yeah. Subs, you can go out there, and then we'll just keep the rest of us away from the pitch and with a keyboard.
I love it. Tina shows up late, and she's already harassing me on Facebook. Way to not toot your horn there, Subs. Thank you, Tina. We're glad you're here. Better late than never, right? I'm teasing, of course, Tina. All right. Last tweet of the night. This comes from Gary Randolph. He says, "Do you even race anymore, bro?" Gary referring to my iRacing habits. Yeah, I do. It's not all that thrilling, but I enjoy it.
Yeah, we used to have deep soccer conversations with Subes late in the evenings, and now he's disappeared, and we find him broadcasting his video game habits online.
First of all,
So,
it's not a video game. It is a racing simulator.
oh, I'm so sorry.
Hey, you're quite the gamer yourself.
Yeah, but no one knows about it, so
Well, they
I'm
do
good.
now. Yeah, I try to race as much as I can. I've got a racing simulator seat here that I built myself. I went to the junkyard and got a seat out of a Dodge Stratus that was all wrecked up, and I made a cool little race car here in the basement. So, yeah, good stuff. Thanks for the tweets. Hashtag CST Extra Time. As we appreciate everybody tuning in to Extra Time. And anything else you want to add, Boston or Bill?
No, appreciate the tweets. Keep sending them in. This is fun.
Yeah, I enjoy them as well. We got to start getting questions though, like Gary's, where we're asking us about, we talk about soccer for the whole hour. Let's loosen up a little bit. Talk about random stuff. No? Yeah. All right.
All right. I'll make a fake Twitter account and start sending in some stuff.
Okay. Oh, that's great. Thanks to our intern Jacob for collecting those this week. Again, at Cincy Soccer Talk, hashtag CST Extra Time. And we will see you all next week.